What happens if a situation arises that you were unprepared for? A situation such as a blizzard, a tornado, or being locked down due to a virus. Put yourself in any possible situation that could arise. Now ask yourself, what would you do? Where would you go? What do you need? Are you ready? Because what if tomorrow?
Welcome to On the Fringe, where I have gotten the wrong opener clicked.
I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound normal.
I know, right?
That's normal. It doesn't sound like what we normally have. But it works. We're here.
That's all right. It's good music. I liked it.
Yay.
And really, what we're talking about tonight, we've actually talked about on What If Tomorrow, when we had our various conspiracy theory shows, because there are a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding this subject. Whether you believe in it or not, that's up to you. It is a really super interesting subject. And there's a lot of rabbit holes, and we're going to try to stay off the rabbit holes, but it can still happen. We know how that goes. So
I feel that was directed at me, so I'll just be quiet.
No,
you are not going to be
down
quiet.
some of those rabbit holes. So let's talk about what Majestic 12 is. Majestic 12, according to the government, is never existed, but supposedly after Roswell, a group of individuals were put together by the government to investigate and or cover up information about the Roswell crash, and then later crashes or UFO sightings and whatnot. So, and there's been a lot of movies and stuff that's made mention of it. Now, the FBI claims that Majestic 12 never existed, and that all the documents that have supposedly come online are fake. Although there are two known actual documents that reference the Majestic 12 program in the National Archives. There's not, they just mention them. So at some point, this was a government program or group, but any information about it has seemingly evaporated, as all really fun government programs do.
True.
So, and there's also the conspiracy theory that Majestic 12 and the CIA were responsible for the Kennedy assassination, which is one of the weirder conspiracies. But I can see, because Kennedy at the time was wanting to cooperate with the Russians to put a man on the moon, not a separate thing. He wanted to work together, and they wanted to share. He wanted to share information. So I can see why that might upset quite a few people in the security divisions of our government. So is it true? I don't know. But it's a fascinating subject. So
There's some fun stuff floating around about it.
there is. The original members of this group were actually some fairly well-known and very intelligent people. So if you were looking for 12 people to put on a panel to investigate this stuff, those at least half of those probably would have been on there, and the other half seem like viable candidates. So that makes it extra interesting, because at least if you're going to make up a conspiracy theory, you should try to pick on people who, would be experts in that field. So I am sorry for all the coughing. I'll booze up as the show goes on. Yeah, no.
Medicine.
It is
highly entertaining.
medicinal.
Uh-oh.
Yep, it's cough syrup.
No.
No,
Is that what we're calling it?
2 is my limit. I get an upset stomach, so I mean, you're not going to see anything too fun.
Oh.
Yeah, I limit myself to 2 bottles myself. So
2 bottles. Okay, well, I mean, 2 shots is enough to make me sick for a couple hours, so we're going to avoid that.
Well, you already mentioned a few interesting things already by summoning JFK there at the end, which of course we may find out more. And there are a few loose connections through other linked documents, as you mentioned, but direct evidence, and that squabble's been going on ever since all that stuff came out. So with the release of more JFK stuff coming soon, there might be a little bit more about Majestic 12 mixed up in that.
There might be, and I am going to go out on a limb and say either everything that gets released is going to be totally redacted, or we're going to find out that certain former members of our government may or may not have been involved. I personally think that there's something fishy going on there. What it is, I don't know if it was Majestic 12, the CIA, or, the Federal Reserve. Who knows? Because he was actually looking at going back on the gold standard, which also upset quite a few people. And honestly, I'm just going to be honest with you. I can see the financial sector pulling that crap before I can see, Majestic 12 or the
Right.
CIA doing. Because money is the big motivator in a lot of these scandals
everything.
that we see. Yeah, I mean, so anyway, let's get started on Majestic 12. They're an interesting bunch of guys. We had Lloyd Berkner. He was a physicist and engineer. Detlev Wolf Bronk. He was a scientist, a teacher, and administrator. President of Johns Hopkins University. So he would be somebody you might want to tap for some shenanigans. Vannevar Bush. People really had cool names. What happened to all these cool names? He was an engineer, inventor, and science administrator who was headed the Office of Scientific Research and Development in World War II and was responsible for a lot of military R&D. James Forrestal, the last cabinet-level United States Secretary of the Navy and the first United States Secretary of Defense. Another very powerful, intelligent guy. Gordon Ray, who was an attorney and government official. And, everybody knows that attorneys, you don't trust them. Sorry to Gordon Ray. I just had to have the attorney joke. Roscoe Henry Hillencotter. Well, I mean, these names, these are great. third director of the post-World War II United States Central Intelligence Group, and third director of the Central Intelligence DCI, and the first director of the Central Intelligence Agency. So, I mean, right now we're getting into the CIA connections and stuff right there. Jerome Hunsacker. Sorry. He's
You might be at your limit on drinks already, Mark. I don't know.
yeah, I know, right? Well, I mean, I have
names, or is he cursing them out? I'm not sure yet.
I have trouble with English, on any day. American naval officer, aeronautical engineer. I mean, these guys all seem like plausible picks or something like this. Donald Howard Menzel, theoretical astronomer and astrophysicist, the first in the United States. He discovered the physical properties of the solar chromosphere and the chemistry of stars, the atmosphere of Mars, and the nature of gaseous nebula. This guy was on it.
Yep. He was using the color of light to determine what actually was in the atmosphere of the planet, our planet, the sun, all of that stuff. It was pretty forward-leaning astronomy-wise for back then.
Yeah. Robert Miller Montague, Lieutenant General, United States Army. Sidney Sowers, American military intelligence officer, the first to hold the office of Director of Central Intelligence, and being head of the Central Intelligence Group, and the direct predecessor of the CIA. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of important guys on this list. So, Nathan Farragut Twining was a United States Air Force general, the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force from 1953 to 57, which was, right in the big UFO flap. So he would have been aware of a lot of this information from stuff like Blue Book and whatnot.
The Air Force came into being in 1947. What else happened in 1947? You got your Roswell, and immediately followed up by the creation of the CIA. I'm sure there's no connection there.
I am sure there is no connection whatsoever with that.
I was gonna say, I got really stuck on investigating the members, and I started kind of looking into their backgrounds, what led them up to 47, and then what happened to them after 47. And there is huge leaps across the board. Some of these military guys were just military guys. They didn't have a whole lot of schooling behind them. There wasn't a whole lot going on. And then 47 happens. And then within the next few years, they're suddenly advisory panels to the president, and they're, Secretary of Defense, and all of them across the board. Even the ones that had fantastic beginnings, super smart genius type people working at MIT and running aeronautics and stuff. 47 happens, and then all of a sudden they all have these large-scale jobs within the defense.
What happened in 47?
Yeah, what is it? NACA? What was it before it was NASA?
Oh, NACA. Yeah, NACA.
Yeah, a lot of them were in that, and I just found it amazing that across the board, all 12 of them were very much like that. They had this normal sequence, and then 47 happens, and then suddenly they had all these very grand, large-scale types of things within our government and outside of our government, too.
So it's almost like they were pulled together.
Yeah, it's somewhat suspicious. And the last guy is Hoyt Vandenberg, United States Air Force general, served as second Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the second Director of the Central Intelligence. So a lot of intelligence guys here, and a lot of guys who weren't in intelligence before they, all of a sudden, well, I'm in intelligence now.
Yeah.
I'm in poor intelligence.
Lack of intelligence. But yeah,
I'm in search of intelligence. I haven't found it yet.
In a post World War II world, because we're only talking a few years separating that
Right.
with the creation of the you going from the Army, Air Forces to just their own separate entity as the Air Force, and then the creation of CIA. So secrecy and spying on our neighbors apparently is much more important after World War II than it was during it. I guess they needed their own setup. There was certainly in 47 this shaking of the box of what the norms were for how the military and our spy networks and secrecy levels and things like that got cranked up to 11 in 1947. So you've got now this disparate group of people, scientists and military leaders and
Attorneys.
Strangely enough,
I know, yeah.
where now you've got this group that is now loosely connected to possibly one of the greatest secrets humanity's ever known and keeping it quiet.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff. Now, supposedly, the Majestic group took over all the projects that were under the MK Ultra umbrella, which was mind control experiments. For those of you who have not watched one of our conspiracy shows, the MK Ultra program was pretty much directly responsible for the Unabomber. He was a victim of their snatch and grabs, where they used prostitutes and female agents posing as prostitutes to bring young men off the street and ply them with LSD and other psychotropics and try their hand at mind control. And we all know what happened with the Unabomber.
Yeah. Unlike some of the other things that we do talk about, there's actually quite a bit of direct evidence that MK Ultra was a real thing and was very barbaric in the way that they treated these people. Mostly, vagrant, homeless people or runaways and stuff like that, literally grabbed off of the street and strapped up to a table and just pumped full of drugs and just to see how they'd react.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It was horrific.
No, yeah. And see, then this is the thing that makes conspiracy theories so popular and prevalent in our society is because a lot of these conspiracies are and were real, and our government, while not as bad as some, had caught with their hand in the cookie jar doing horrendous things to American citizens. I mean, we had the Tuskegee experiments. We had the U.S. Navy shelling San Francisco with biological matter to see how diseases spread. Just dumb shit like that. I don't know why anybody would think most of these things were good ideas, but I had a psychology professor once tell me, and this was about corporations. I won't go into the argument that we were having, but he said all corporations, if you were to judge them as you would a human being, are psychotic. They're multiple personality syndrome, the whole 9 yards, because there's so many voices with so many different ideas, and they don't always mesh well. And that's why big corporations do stupid stuff. Well, I'm going to tell you that it's the same reason the government does stupid stuff. Too many people want their little pet idea to go, and some of these people need to be locked up.
Look at some of the crap that gets hooked into bills that shouldn't be hooked into bills.
Some of these people need to be in jail, and some of these people need to be in the loony bin.
Mm-hmm.
Just flat out nuts. And, so that's why people believe stuff like this. And was Majestic 12 real? I have to say that since there's documents that reference it in the Federal Archive, that it was real. Was it about UFOs? Quite possibly.
Amongst other things.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
I mean,
even if it wasn't even if like, the list of names you gave and all that stuff isn't exactly accurate, I could sort of assuming that you had something like Roswell, where you've got, or just UFOs in general, of how to keep a tight lid on all of that stuff so that the people don't panic. The Russians don't think we got something that they want to try and steal or find out, all these things. Yep. You would create a group like that.
Very similar.
To try. Yeah, exactly. So there's a rationale there for that group just to exist.
Those would be the kind of credentials you would be looking for such a group. So that lends some credence to it. Now, the government, the FBI, I've got a link and we can post it on here. The FBI records vault, they come out and say it's absolutely fraudulent. But then they show documents. They've got PDFs of documents on here that are heavily redacted. So my question is, why would you redact documents
that exist
that aren't real?
Yeah, if they're totally bogus, like they wrote across them in great big letters, bogus, because that makes it bogus,
This is the question I want to know. Why would you
these
go
are not the forms you're looking for?
Yes, these are not the forms.
I mean, not to mention the fact, okay, so they came out, they re-emerged supposedly in the late 80s, like in 87 or something like that. Timothy Good was the one that claimed, he was like, hey, I've got these papers. And it says there was this, MJ12 and stuff. Why would anybody in the 80s want to fabricate something? A lot of the gentlemen who were were in the Majestic 12 were still alive at the time.
Yeah,
right.
And they had attorneys in there. So why would you openly, throw that out there and throw them under the bus if it wasn't real? If you just made it up and you're like, oh, I know how I'll get my ass thrown in jail.
Exactly. And it's a wonder that that's not what happened.
Yeah.
They tamped it down real fast. So, it's fake.
Yeah, so, they did immediately. Came out.
It was a photocopy and it was cut and pasted.
Yeah. And they tried to, what was that they said about when they found the copy of it? Let me see if I can find that, because, a sensational confirmation of their validity seemed to come to light when a third unsigned document was found in the National Archives. And it was dated July 14th, 1954. And it read, the president has decided that MJ12 SSP briefing should take place at an already scheduled White House meeting, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it goes through there and they're like, well, this absolutely had to be true because it was in a classified box in a classified vault. Well, then they come back and say, well, only, if MJ12 is an inside job, then this isn't true. And, that was their big thing. Well, it was an inside job at that point. That's why it's not true. But then they also come back and say that they thought it was a fake because that particular document, the archives issued, let me find it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time, and I'm not doing a very good job of it.
I understand. I have problems reading and speaking and walking and speaking.
Here it is. Okay, so the only document referring to MJ12 in the folder in question, there was only this one, and the marking said top secret restricted information, and that marking was not used during the Eisenhower administration, is what they were saying. That it only came into use at the National Security Council under Nixon. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Have you heard yay or nay on that?
It could have been marked after the fact.
It could have been. That's a good point.
I mean, a lot of stuff gets classified after the fact.
Right.
That's a very good point, actually.
Did you see the did you read about the typed I in the third document?
Oh, where they thought maybe it stood for Eisenhower, eyes only? Or
No,
the eye
no.
only?
So there's some kind of a weird thing going on about whether they were trying to prove that the document wasn't real by saying it was too late, that it wasn't early enough to have been from that era.
Oh, you mean that
And
typewriter eye?
yeah,
The
so
character. Gotcha.
there was like a raised I think, or maybe it was a Z. I think it was an I. It was a little raised above everything else, and they actually went back to one of the gentlemen who actually worked in the the building or whatever where they typed all that stuff out, where all those went into files and everything, and they asked him about it, and he was like, I can actually tell you the typewriter that one came off of, we used to have trouble with that one because it would get gunked up and it would raise that letter up slightly, and after a while we just quit trying to fight it. That I know which one that came from. So
That's
he like
interesting.
verified that it was from the correct time.
It's like a little fingerprint, isn't it?
It is.
Basically,
it really
yeah.
is.
They do use typewrite font, or not so much anymore because nobody uses a typewriter, but they did use that as a form of finding where documents came from in the past, because every typewriter is slightly different from every other
Has
typewriter.
its own little quirk.
Has its own little quirks. And that was actually quite the science up until the 80s, 90s, when people were still using typewriters on the regular.
Sylvain?
So, I mean, yeah. So that makes total sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mhm.
I know a lot of serial killers used to get busted that way.
Right. And
Yeah.
Still do.
they still do.
Because there is this sounds super tinfoily hatty, but all four of us could print up the same document on a sheet of paper from our home printers, and through microscopic type analysis, they can tell which printer it came from. So they'd be able to split those four pieces of paper. We all four would print out, and it's like, oh, this one's from Mark, this one's from Pam, because of the way that it prints out. So having a typewriter with like one of the letters slightly offset at, by the third or fourth page it's printed out, typed out, that's kind of been incorporated into modern technology to kind of have a fingerprint for every single printer in the world.
They busted the BTK killer that way, didn't they?
That was actually with Microsoft Word.
Yeah, well, he printed it on his church computer printer or something like that. If I remember right. It's been a minute.
He asked basically asked the newspaper if they could track him from a floppy disk, and they said, "Oh no!" So he sent a floppy disk with his manifesto to the newspaper, and that's how they found out in the metadata. Who owned the copy of Microsoft Word that was typed on.
Goodness.
And then they got the computer from the church and found the file under Dennis, and it didn't take much. It didn't take much after that to track him down.
And he was free for the longest time,
Yes, but I know people who have met him, and they said it did not surprise them in the slightest.
Really?
Because he was creepy.
Ooh.
Yep. I worked with a lady at the base. Where her neighborhood was, he was on the HOA board for her neighborhood, and she still has framed in her home a nasty letter for accidentally leaving her garbage cans out overnight after the pickup day. That kind of almost Karen level of HOA.
He was
a Dennis Rader.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, how close did I come to getting chopped up?
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's not scary at all.
So
goodness.
Yeah, there's a lot of these files online at the FBI. It just did kind of tickle me that they went to the trouble of redacting these supposedly fake documents.
Mm-hmm. I found it. It was the letter Z.
Z. Cool.
Yeah.
Letter V.
Yeah. So, according to Wood's research and expert witnesses contacted at the National Archives, the Z matches a particular typewriter, and in fact, many of the documents from that era have that same Ray Z. The ones that came from that typewriter, they're identical.
So, and they're not going to get rid of a typewriter just because it's a little off, as long as it
No.
works. Because you know,
Yeah.
And of
And
all letters,
apparently-
the C doesn't get used that much.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Apparently, there was also a word. What was it? I just saw it. There was a word listed that was misspelled, showing that it was hand edited and not, done properly on like a computer in later times. And that misspelling matches misspellings from the same typist that did other like manuals and stuff from that exact same time period. So there's multiple proof within the documents.
So we have proof that those documents are real that reference MJ12.
Mhm.
So
Ian jumped in too. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Ian.
yep,
Yeah, super interesting.
it
That
is an
is.
interesting, and then like I said, some of these theories they just get so crazy.
Mhm. What do you guys think about the James Forrestal death?
I think
happened in
that was-
49.
I think he was killed.
You think?
Yes.
I think he was
escorted out the window rather quick.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, for all of you at home that don't know what we're speaking about, James Forrestal was one of the 12. And he
He's the
died not
director.
long after it was started in 47. Suddenly, he was claimed that he had gone insane, and he ended up in a 16-story room in a Bethesda hospital where he took a swan dive out the window, ended up on like the second floor, like
balcony. Yeah.
balcony or something down below, and oddly enough, also had a noose around his neck.
Yeah.
Huh.
They said that he tried to hang himself and slipped and fell to his death. He tried to hang himself outside the window.
Maybe they were trying to hang him, and he was trying to get away and fell.
Maybe. Well, and the guy that was supposed to be watching him was, conveniently stepped away for a moment.
What?
Yeah. Shocker.
That's why we should always have cameras on people that are like that, so that they, because no one would ever turn those off or anything like that.
What? Okay,
Just the
so
right
the
moment.
reasoning why they thought behind the alleged I don't want to say execution, but it kind of is
Murder?
murder was, my understanding was, he was thinking it was time to actually talk about UFOs.
That
bring
that
it-
that
to bring
was
it
the
to
rumor,
light.
yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you follow that rabbit hole and the logic of that, isn't that kind of what they're talking about on the Kennedy conspiracy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because he
yeah,
was
it's
wanting to
all-
He was
talk
going
about
to
it.
talk. He was going to
It all
share.
filters into that, yeah.
So, I mean,
It's not like we haven't heard of agents of the government that want to keep things hidden, and parts of that group that want to speak out about it. And mysterious things seem to occur to those people that want to talk about it versus keeping it quiet.
oh, you mean like
So-
walking down the street, getting 2 bullets to the back of the head, and having your laptop and several $100s in your wallet, and it's a robbery gone wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of curious
That's
how
very specific. Which one did that happen to?
That was an Arkansas
Yeah.
story.
there's a few of those
Ugh.
hanging from a tree by the neck and shotgun blast to the back. But it was
It was suicide.
so
Yeah. There,
Goodness.
there's been a lot of suspicious activity And it's just not
Yes.
our government. Every government has stuff like that. Ours is just particularly bad about covering up their cover-ups
Yeah.
because we do have freedom of the press here. And even though it's kind of corrupt, word does get out, and the interweb is good about spreading these facts around. So it is not as easy.
Our government just sucks at covering stuff up. They put, fake on stuff, and we're like,
bogus.
You believe it now. We wrote fake on it.
We wrote
It says
fake on
bogus.
it, but we redacted this page here, but it's still fake.
That part's not fake.
That part was real. Fake, but the rest of it was fake.
Yeah, they're like, this isn't real. Look over here, clowns. Look at the clowns.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
I'm glad you were pointing at Mark when you said that, but it's but yeah, it's strange how that kind of stuff comes up a lot, but people just let it go and don't say, granted, with a lot of these topics where these things get when the government or whoever doesn't tell you the full truth, that's when you kind of start making stuff up, and you've got the maps and the pictures on the wall with the string connecting everything, trying to put it all together, and you look like a crazy person.
Yeah, I mean,
well, people tend to not want to rock the boat, and they don't want to believe that something nefarious could be going on. They just want to live their lives and not have to worry about stuff like that. So I think most people have the tendency to just walk past it, just to pretend they didn't see it and move on.
Yeah.
Right.
And the few people like us who question are suddenly the scary, crazy people.
Of course.
If I suddenly ended up dead tomorrow, it was the Clintons.
So what we're showing right now is a picture of one of the actual documents that came from the Majestic 12 information that was originally labeled top secret. That was
editing by Bill and Ted, apparently.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
At least I spelled it right.
Bogus.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, it looks like they took a big black Sharpie and in great big letters wrote bogus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were totally Melvin by death.
They were.
No,
and if you
didn't get it, the Bill and Ted.
Whoops.
Okay. I tried.
Sorry. Let's go this way. Yeah, see, and they continued to write that across
on every page.
Every page.
Except that one where they started redacting.
Yeah, and then you'll see the redactions.
Then they start redacting stuff. Oh, nothing to see here, people. So
crazy.
Yeah. Then you get in all these redacted pages. Okay.
Even the handwritten stamped stuff where they would pull it out of the archives and they'd have to make annotations about it. Even that stuff is redacted. You can see like that. There's a thing at the bottom of this page here where, what does that say?
Declassified by.
Yeah. It's like, if this is fake, why would you have like the person who is declassifying it edit out? I mean, it was classified somewhere. This is a document from someplace that would have had to come out enough where you're going to hide the individual, probably just some clerk somewhere that probably had nothing to do with what the actual document is. Just somebody that's pulling it out of an archive and putting it out
this
there.
Doesn't look important. Let's just declassify it.
Yeah.
We'll protect the person's name, the identification number of the clerk that pulled this out of the files to make a copy of it. That's just bananas. There's a whole lot of bogus right there in that one.
Right? Yeah, I was going to say this next page, about 50% of it looks like,
at least 50% of it is
it's completely.
I was also going to make mention, if you look back on that former page, all the annotations from every time someone pulled it out and had to write a number down on it or whatever, there's several different hand styles there. It's not one
there's
person.
Several different.
Yeah.
So if they fake
a multi-generational thing.
Yeah, if they fake this, did they walk around their office and be like, "Hey, doodle on this too, and we'll make it really look legit"?
Well, the one on the bottom of this, I guarantee you, is a man, and the one up here on the side is probably a female. I can tell
This
because
one,
the handwriting on
one?
the bottom looks like mine.
like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And then that looks more, yeah. That's funny.
it is. I mean, more
There's so
redaction.
much. Here's
more
another
redaction.
one that's
Now they're redacting signatures on the bottom. These people are okay; they're fake.
They
This guy
are.
down here, we've got to wipe it out.
That's right. Yeah, all the
Ain't
typed
these
out
guys. Let's
documentation
hide
is fake, but the people we'll protect the people that actually had it filed away and actually
Yeah.
researched this and everything else. It's just stupid. It's
Well-
insulting.
well-
It really
We'll
is.
black out
It
the
is insulting
presidential
to your
signature.
Yeah. They'll never know who he was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all that, I mean,
Then we're back
going
to
from
bogus.
Truman all the way through Kennedy, you've got all sorts of presidential involvement. I mean, good Lord, Eisenhower is its own freaking show.
Yes, I've got a whole big ass book on Eisenhower.
Yeah. I mean, Eisenhower was the one that, supposedly went off and talked to the aliens and set up the entire system where they are free to take us whenever they want. They've just got to share
Right.
their tech with us occasionally.
Which supposedly they did not do.
Yeah, they didn't hold up their
Yeah.
end of the bargain whatsoever.
Nope, but they're still taking people.
Yep.
But that's bogus, Mark.
It is bogus. It said so
Totally.
many times. Many times.
I caught your Bill and Ted reference earlier.
Thank you.
I
Totally
did.
Melvin Death.
Right? I was
Yeah.
trying to focus, and for some reason today I cannot talk and do anything at the same time.
It's the storm coming in.
Ugh.
It is.
Yeah.
My brain
We're
is
all-
We're in
frozen.
hunker down mode.
For
Got
those
big
of you
snow
that are
coming.
not in
Yeah.
our area, we're getting ready to have Snowmageddon here.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're getting ready for the blizzard of the century.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving 13 inches of snow, extreme cold, and 30-knot winds. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And snow drifts up to 4 to 5 feet high.
So we'll
Fun,
see
fun,
y'all
fun.
in the spring.
what I grew
Negative
up-
temperatures.
says
Woo!
it's fall spring. It was fall spring. I was just wondering. Can you take a hit out on a groundhog?
I don't know, but
Hmm.
dude needs to go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where's it called?
Talk to Tommy.
Hill.
You're gonna get it.
50 years from now, people are going to be pulling the archives of this recording up, just like MJ12 stuff. It's like,
Poxawatomie Phil.
we need a big bogus across the whole screen right now so that we can re-edit that.
Oh no, we can take care
That
of
makes me
that.
think. I almost think he might be a mole, and I say this because there's a mole that has gone through the yard out here where I'm at, and it's come. I live near a city pool, and it's come from the pool down the hill and around the corner, and then it like stops dead at the sidewalk. So I wonder if he was just plowing along and smashed his head on the sidewalk.
Oh, N says he's
Oh, there we
getting
go.
ready for their February heat wave.
Ooh,
Rub it in, why don't you, there, N?
Oh,
well, think of us.
We'll still be buried in ice this time 2 weeks from now.
No kidding.
I also
Oh.
see the little poop emojis he put up. Is that leftover from the last show?
I
Probably.
did not interact with the poop emojis since I got yelled at last week about that on Border Town Strange.
you won't
It
get
was
yelled
funny.
at on this one.
Oh, I was dying laughing, and yeah,
It was
I've got
funny.
4 brothers. I have no hope for me.
I just had to get onto them because they just kept rolling with it, and we were trying to like move along, and it was all poop in the chat rooms. So
It was a shit show.
Oh, yes, it was.
That was kind of a crappy joke.
I thought
Stunk
it was
to high
chocolate
heaven, didn't
pudding.
it?
Oh, we're just being facetious. I'm sorry. I Chris has probably got something up in the comments about face palms or something here.
Not yet. Give her a minute.
She will give her a minute. This is a very, very famous thing in my house. We'll get on the whole. I'll get on everybody's shit list.
Oh, I see that you just saved him the trouble and put bogus across the ticker.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yep.
That'll work.
We've got it. Bogus dude.
Too funny.
So, I mean, I watched.
Oh, she jumped in. You're in trouble. She used your government name, man.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Well, we'll have to redact that later.
Name.
Yes, you're going to have to redact that.
Get your Sharpie out and get your screen.
In said that Enzo started it.
Like,
that's a
little kid. He did it first.
In threw you under the poop bus.
Yep.
Under the shit wagon.
On the shit
boys.
again,
I'll have to give the same warning I gave out last week. I'll be like, I'll turn this podcast around and we'll go straight home.
I mean, that's fair enough. But I watched hours of videos on the stuff. About 3/4 of the stuff I saw, I didn't really find all that plausible, but there is enough that I did find plausible that it makes you really wonder. Like I said, when the FBI's own website is like, what the hell?
What the hell?
I mean, if you're going to poo-poo on something.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about. If you're going to say something is a fake, why not just say it was a fake? Why would you post PDFs that have been redacted and then say that they're fake? I mean, come on.
Because you weren't supposed to notice that, Mark. Come on.
Right. You're not supposed to make that very simple next step educated guess on what could possibly be on this piece of paper. I really hope in a few weeks we're not saying the same stuff about all the JFK things and all the other stuff that's going to be released. It's like, what the hell is this? What's wrong with you guys?
And that happens with a lot of these big government info dumps. They dump all kinds of stuff for people to sort through on like a Saturday, and half of it's just crap. They bury the stuff that's any good in a bunch of stuff so people will skip over it.
Because you get bored and skim it.
And then they always underestimate some of these
tenacity.
the tenacity of some of
the
these
weaponized autism of people on the internet that will just
absolutely.
And I know some of those people. I mean, who would dig through every word.
And those are the kind of, that's great though, because those are the kind of people that do notice that, hey, wait a minute, this Z is a little offset from all the rest of the letters. And it's like that throughout all the documentation.
Catch those patterns real quick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it was typed on a real typewriter by a real typist from that era who did that for their job. So, I mean, did you go back in time in your time machine, Bill and Ted, and make him type this stuff up just so you could freak out the internet?
Totally.
Totally, dude.
Totally, dude.
Where's my phone book?
Makes you think of Wayne and Gar.
Where's my TARDIS? I need to go fix this.
Mine's down the hall.
Oh, yep.
Oh, you can't see it. I need to aim my camera a little bit up. You can see it.
Just gonna start.
I'll aim your camera.
Oh, careful those special effects.
Is yours right there, Enzo? You have one too, don't you?
Yeah, I got one here.
Oh, there we go. Aha.
Where'd he go?
Dun, dun, dun.
He went back in the past. To,
oh no.
Yeah, to keep him from writing bogus on everything.
It's all right. I took care of everything. Go, Pat.
All right,
That's
Captain.
You don't have a red shirt on, you're safe.
Oh.
No.
So anyway, I mean, there's been lots of drama on TV about the Majestic 12. There was actually a really good series back in the 80s or 90s that talked all about it, but it was really popular, but then it got shut off after the first season. That actually, now that I think about it, is actually kind of suspicious. Why would you
show? I thought you were leading up to the whole X-Files thing, and it was like, oh, what are you talking about?
I've been rewatching the X-Files. That's where I thought he was going to.
Because it's true life.
Dark Skies. And I
Dark
believe it was fairly popular. Everybody I knew seemed to be watching it. And we just couldn't believe that they, canceled it after just one season.
Maybe it's like a Dan Aykroyd show.
Right?
Men in Black showed up while he was on a cigarette break, and then suddenly the whole studio was shutting it down as fast as could be. So,
right. That,
who knows?
You're talking about stuff we don't want people to think about. You're done.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens. That does happen.
And they don't want to have to go and write bogus over the top of the whole TV show.
The whole screen.
I know, right? That would have been a lot of work on every frame. Just
going to every TV in America and writing it on the screen. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Don't look at the redacted parts. Don't look.
That's right. Pay no attention to these words behind the curtain. Yeah, it's
so
there's parts of it because I do feel that a lot of people instill a little bit too much cloak and dagger to our federal government. A lot of it's just kind of dumb people doing things kind of half-ass, it seems, which this is one of them where they're obviously doing pay no attention to this, where there's an intricate detail in there for very specific things they don't want you to know about in a fake document.
Oh, we better redact that before we post it. Why the hell did you post it?
This is super extra fake. We don't want them to guess this. What?
The answer to our question, you just answered our question, is incompetence. They can't even do a cover-up right. I mean,
but the problem is that most people will believe it because they were told that.
Yeah, and that's why
if they go and it's on the website, the CIA website.
It's the internet. It's got to be true.
Well, it says bogus on there, so obviously it's bogus.
Right,
obviously.
Well, if the CIA says it's bogus, it must be true.
Right? Because they would never say anything to steer anyone or make them look the other way.
Yeah, our government would never lie to us. They are the most honest government ever.
If this was 2018, 19, then probably most people would agree with you. But a few things have happened since then that people, even regular normies, I'm just doing my job, man, going, what the F is this? Wait a minute. That doesn't even make sense at my dumb level.
I was never a conspiracy fan. I like, what the hell are you people talking about? And then, it's like, I'm looking into some of this stuff, and they've actually been caught doing this and caught doing that, and they've had to apologize for this. I'm not so sure that you're wrong. So, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Conspiracy from conspiracy theory to conspiracy fact is about
3 weeks.
9. Yeah, about that. Three or 4 weeks. It's
but to carry on with the actual Majestic 12, supposedly Majestic 12 is responsible for the whole Area 51 having aliens and cold storage and secret UFOs in an underground facility where they're being reverse engineered. Is it true? Is it not? I know there's a lot of secret stuff that goes on at Area 51. I mean, you get the skunk works there. That's where the SR-71 came from. The A-12, which was an armed version of the SR-71, actually came out first. The reason we didn't,
so well.
No, it didn't work out too well because it was faster than its own missiles.
Right.
So they had to rework the project. It was a very good project. It looked almost like a SR-71. They said, "Oh shit, we can't even fire missiles from this thing because we outrun them." They couldn't fire bullets from it because they outran the bullets. So they had to turn it into a surveillance bird. But that's the kind of thing that comes out of Area 51. So are some of the weird things that fly around Area 51 of alien origin? Who the hell knows? I mean, but
supposedly it's not, they don't use that kind of stuff out there anymore. There's some other secret base somewhere that they use now rather than that. Now it's more of a tourist attraction kind of thing. They still fly planes out there, don't get me wrong. There's still the mysterious Janet flights flying out of McLaren, out of Vegas, all that stuff. There's still work going on. They do some testing out there, but the super weird stuff like has been described there for people hanging out at the Little Alien there in Rachel, Nevada, where they would go camp outside in the desert at night at very particular times and see some.
There is probably
stuff.
nothing that big going on there now because there are so many people, some of them quite obsessed, who literally camp out where they can use their binoculars and watch the base. It can't be that secret if they're not running them off.
No, but it's a great distraction for
it is a great distraction.
They do have things that are secret now.
So, yeah, I am sure that they are nowhere near Area 51.
Yeah. The Green River Complex and the Dugway Proving Ground in Utah. Those two places are supposedly the new grounds for all the old Area 51 shazazz. Yeah.
Well, you certainly don't want to be moving them around on a flatbed truck very far.
No.
So having them
just put a tarp over it, it'll be fine. You ride right through the middle of town. No one's going to notice.
I mean,
sadly you're probably not too far. True. Yeah.
Look, somebody's moving a float of of a UFO.
Oh man, I just looked up where those two places are. They're literally right at the very bottom of the Uinta Basin.
Oh.
Is that the best place to be put?
Yeah. Not really.
Oh no.
Not particularly.
Everybody watching the crazy stuff out there. Oh,
little skinwalker.
That looks like a real airplane.
Let's throw some aliens in there, and we'll just pull them right off the.
Yeah. Maybe that's
right
why
off the res and throw them in these buildings.
There's nothing to see here.
There's an anomaly over the mesa. But
these are not the aliens you're looking for.
Yeah, that's right.
Ian said Area 53 is where it's at. No idea if that exists. Probably does. Who knows? You're probably right. I'm sure. They have to have one somewhere.
Yeah, there's always a test.
They moved it all to Warehouse 13.
Oh.
I love that show.
I know. Me too.
It was such a good show.
They told everybody in the town they worked for the IRS. Everybody hated
it. They're ready to burn them out. Yeah. Well, I mean, and nobody would try to get into the IRS because that's not very exciting.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Definitely not.
There's a few spots for where the new Area 51 is. It's anybody's guess. I imagine there were parts of it that were broken up and kind of spread out a little bit rather than everybody being all in one spot. That's the better plan, but really,
it's a good good plan.
That's a pretty good plan nowadays. It was when Bill Clinton was in office that because officially they never even recognized that as a base. It would never be identified as a base. Like, we got some stuff out there.
It's
not a big deal. But until some lawsuits started rolling in from some of the workers out there during the Clinton administration, where he actually said, yes, this is going on at this mystery base out in the desert, where it was officially recognized by the government. But that was their own fault, because it turns out they were super secretive out there that they would burn everything. They had these giant burn pits, which oddly enough, the Army still does to this day. A lot of my time when I was right before I retired, there was still a lot of stuff like in Afghanistan and things like that, where they just burn all their trash. Well, if you're at a super secret location, we're working on super secret fuels and hardware and things like that, you can't just throw it away. So they would just have this one central location that they would just cover with, like, contaminated fuel or exotic fuel or whatever, and just light it up, and there'd just be these giant plumes of smoke going everywhere, and people were breathing it at the base because it's floating over top of it.
You get into the whole Agent Orange thing.
Mhm.
They burned stockpiles of that.
Did that too.
Heard the stories. Munitions, a lot of that stuff's toxic. Foam coolers are one of the worst things you can burn, by the way, because if you burn polyethylene foam, commonly used in coolers, you get cyanide gas. So,
and the foam cups we all used to burn.
Yeah,
Throw them in the
throw it
campfire.
those are actually slightly safer than the polyurethane foam, but
Oh, that's good. 'Cause I burned a lot of those in my time.
Pam.
Right?
Well,
That's
we were
terrible.
kids.
well, and you get heavy
we all
metal
did.
poisoning from burning.
No, I know. I did it too.
Burning metal crates and beer cans and whatnot. So yeah, I can.
Red
where that
red
would
solo
fall.
cups make really pretty blue and pink colors when they melt.
They
Right.
do.
Make
They
me
do.
feel funny from the fumes.
Yeah.
But at Area 51, they were burning like aircraft parts and computers and stuff
Oh,
like that. It
crap.
was just anything that you couldn't just
and that
throw
stuff's
away.
so toxic.
Yeah.
I imagine there was a lot of heavy metal poisoning and
And and it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, that's kind of effective as far as, if you got a pile of ash, you're not going to get that much information out of it. But then these people started saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm feeling kind of sick and I need to go to the doctor. And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. We're not going to cover that as far as your health insurance. Then it was like, all secrets are off. That's bogus.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
if you're not going to take care of me, I ain't taking care of you. So
Ian said, Enzo, we're the likely Area 51 siblings.
James Goodall, I've chatted with him several times. He literally wrote the book on the SR-71. He says he's heard stuff about spots like way in the northern part of the country, like western Montana, Idaho area, somewhere up in there, he thinks is where some of the bigger stuff
Low-populated
is.
areas. Yeah.
there are plenty
Makes
of lightly populated places in the United States that would be perfect for that. That we have U.S. possessions overseas that would be perfect for that.
It could be under Mount Shasta.
Could be.
And I am
Inside
very,
there.
very sad that I missed that episode.
We missed you.
Mhm.
Well, let me tell you, Chris probably enjoyed the fact that I could hardly say anything. I get 2 or 3 sentences out, and I start sounding like this.
Oh, no.
And 10, 15 minutes later, I could say another couple more sentences, and then I've been sounding like this.
Aw.
That viral stuff that was going around, or still
Yeah.
going around,
Still
Yeah,
that
they're
is
still
some
nasty.
nasty stuff. I don't know what I had. I tested negative for flu A, for flu B, and COVID. But I was running a fever for like 3-4 days.
We keep having people come in the library. Oh, I've been sick for, a few days. I got a fever and stuff, but I got to get my
out
books.
of the library.
It's like, nah, go away.
You like spraying them with Lysol. Get
Yes.
out! Get out!
Oh, we have kept our sneeze guards up where people turn books in. We're leaving them because people are gross. So PSA, please don't get your librarians sick.
I was sick all the time when I worked for the school.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where I got swine flu. And let me tell you, folks. I mean, I'm not going to say much about COVID. I had COVID. It was no fun. But if you were to tell me if I went to town A and I was going to get COVID, or I went to town B and was going to get swine flu, I would definitely go to town A, because the swine flu was the nastiest,
Ugh.
most horrid thing that I have ever had. And I don't know if I would survive it today, because that was 15, 20 years ago when I got it. At least
Dang.
10, 15 years ago. Anyway, it's been over a decade, and I thought I was going to die then. I was a lot healthier.
Ugh.
So the flu is bad stuff, bad juju.
It is.
Krista, it was so quiet for a while.
That's funny.
Yes. Sorry, honey, I'm not catching it again. Yeah, I just sit there and read my book. Coughed a little
There's
bit.
nothing wrong with that.
No, and I love to read. Reading is my thing. So anyway, I don't have a whole lot else. There's not really a whole lot of concrete stuff out about Majestic 12. We do know that it existed. We have
the next step again would be, does it still exist in some form today?
And
is there a secretive group out there like that?
and then you get into the deep state things that are tied to it. And we know that there is a deep state. They don't call themselves that, but it's fairly obvious that there is. And let me tell you, the most dangerous thing in the country is not politicians. It is bureaucrats, because bureaucrats never leave their job. We've got people who have been being pushing paper to justify their own employment for 40, 50 years. Has been on the job. They don't do nothing but yell at other people who don't do nothing, who yell at people who actually do a little bit, who yell at people who do a little bit more than that. I mean, literally, the waste is real, folks. It really is.
Hearing a lot about that lately. It's maddening.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But I challenge everybody to look up some of these Majestic 12 rumors. There are tons of videos out there on the interweb with all sorts of crazy conspiracies. I mean, we only touched on a couple of the major ones. There's a lot of fiction out there about it. But like I said, we do know that it did probably exist, because there is ancillary evidence saying, referring it, that has been proven, at least to my satisfaction, as being accurate. But did it get Kennedy killed? Did they run Area 51? Are they still trying to run the government today? I don't know. If they are, then they've become the G8 and the whole FEC stuff. So I mean, it's
All the money.
it's all about money these days.
Yeah.
Sadly.
And it probably was then too.
Money and secrecy, and the secrecy itself is its own form of currency in some of those circles.
Right. It's blackmail material.
You can't fire me. I'm the only person that knows about whatever this. I joked a long time ago, not necessarily 100% on it being a joke, is I'm sure somewhere in the United States, in some base somewhere, there's some small hangar that has everything in it. It's got the bodies, it's got the craft, it's got all the documentation. but there was only like one person that had access to that building who accidentally died in an unfortunate vehicle accident out of a 16-story window. That they're the only one that could access it or approve people to get into it on the paperwork, because the government thrives on its paperwork. And so nobody's been in it for like 40 or 50 years, and nobody's allowed to go in it. Because there's some places, this was a conversation I had a couple of years ago with somebody that there was a base where they did have like a classified area, and I was talking to the fire chief there for the base about something. It's like, so what's your response down for going to like way over there, whatever's down this road? And he's like, there was a fire out there. We could see the smoke. We tried to respond, and the security forces would not let us go. The frickin' fire department.
Wow.
They would not let them access that area to try and put out the fire.
Just let her go.
Wow.
Yep.
It's too secret to exist.
Yeah.
And that fire may have been intentional. You know how the government likes to burn things.
That's true. Because I even referred to that. It's like, so do they have, because that actually was standard procedure for dealing with all of these secret documents and stuff like that. When you had classified or secret stuff, that was the standard back when I first joined the Air Force. Was you had a specific burn pit type area where it was all papers. Then you weren't like burning computer parts and stuff like that where you're going to die from the fumes. But the intel folks were trained specifically. This is how you light the fire. This is how you monitor the fire. This is how you stir the ashes and pour water on it and set it on fire again. That kind of stuff. That stuff existed. And for the scenario I was talking about, it's like, so did they have like a, secrets burn kind of thing? Because, from a long time ago, and they're like, if they did, we never noticed any smoke or anything like that. This was a lot of smoke. This was a structure fire, whatever it was. And we were not allowed in.
Wow. That's wild.
So
it burnt.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of suspicious stuff out there, which I guess my accidentally using the wrong intro was probably appropriate, because that's where we do talk about a lot
applies.
of
It does.
I tried to change that, and I thought I had changed it over, and then it went back. So I might have clicked something wrong when I set the show up. But, I'm not the most intelligent person out there anymore. If I ever was. I thought I was really smart when I was young. Not
Me
so
too.
much.
Turns out I was wrong. In my case.
I was mistaken.
I was. There's all that's going around about the GATE program, and when you were in school, were you in the gifted and talented education program? I was in it from like 4th grade through high school. And I'm like, now they're like, hey, did you remember the tones? And did you do this? Yeah, I did all of that. I remember all of that. And it's a little creepy what they're talking about now.
What year time frame was that the both of you went through that? Just approximate.
I was in probably from like I want to say it would have been like maybe 77, 78 through about 86.
Yeah. See, that makes sense, because I'm a bit younger than Pam, and I started in about 1st grade, and it was kind of done. I remember it kind of not happening much more after 3rd grade, like 4th grade. I don't really remember doing it anymore. So I think it was like right in that. I was probably at the tail end of all of that. So. But yeah, I remember all the weird little things we used to do. I used to be mad about it because the kids in it was me and one other girl that would go during the day, and the kids in class would make fun of us because they thought that we were either going to the principal or that we were going to like special classes, like we needed extra help.
That's what that's what they made fun of us. They made fun of us for that.
And I just remember doing really weird worksheets, and I remember the hearing test thing. Mm-hmm. I thought it was like some kind of a hearing test thing, and then
they told us it was. But why were we doing it constantly? Like all the time.
Yeah, it just happened for a little short while there. And I remember like 4th grade, which would have been probably around 87, 88 is kind of when I don't remember it happening anymore. I know it didn't happen in 5th grade, so yeah, it's probably
You were
when they
being
shut that off.
experimented on.
And do
Well,
you
that's what
recall,
they're that's what they're saying now. That's why I'm like, God.
do you recall when it ended, there being like any kind of explanation or anything? It's like, nah, we're not doing that anymore, or don't worry about it, or
No, because I remember 3rd grade I was still doing it because I remember which class I was in, and then 4th grade they just never brought it back up to me ever again, and I don't remember anybody leaving classes after that for anything.
Probably budget. They probably just cut the budget for it and said, "Oh, it's done."
Well, Eric was in it,
Oh, okay.
but he didn't do all the tests like we did. He did more. It geared him into going into the AP classes, which is what you would think it would be for. But honestly, my grades weren't that great. You know, they were passable,
Mine
but
weren't
they weren't
either.
they weren't
I think
fantastic.
I think what Eric did was an actual Excel
Yeah, he did the actual
learning.
thing.
Ours
But he
was
did-
not an
yeah.
Excel learning. Ours was
No.
something different.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't in an Excel
'Cause
learning class by any means.
I
But we went cool
remember
places. I remember going to like the news stations in Tulsa and, you know, getting to go behind the scenes and do all that, and going to Hutchinson to the Cosmosphere, you know, things like that. But there was a whole lot more sitting there and doing pattern recognition and learning, you know, doing riddles, you know. They would do that. And one sticks in my head, and it was where there's twins go into a bar and they both order a drink. One drinks it quickly, one drinks it slowly. The one that drank it slowly dies of poisoning. What was the difference? Well, it's because the ice melted and it was in the ice, you know, but you know, you have to, and it was obvious to me, you know, of why, but I remember them acting so impressed that I got that so quickly. And I was like, so it was weird stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. I remember we used to do these worksheets on that had like number patterns on them.
Yeah.
Like they would list number patterns, and then they would ask you like what comes next or what came before, and then like if we show you this number, what number do you think of next?
Yes.
But there wasn't like an appropriate question or like a puzzle you had to solve with it. It was literally just what number do you think of next? And they didn't tell you
if you got it right or not. They would just
I was just like
they were collecting your data.
Yeah, they were.
And you know, we would do the patterns with like, you know, they would give you this pile of things. Okay, you've got so many seconds to make this pattern over here with these shapes that we gave you, and you know, have to do it really quick. And
yeah,
we did a lot of that.
Yeah,
a lot of that. Ian said, "You're totally Manchurian candidates. Avoid Catcher in the Rye."
Fair,
right?
Fair. That's fair.
And if you want to go a step further, I have negative blood and green eyes, and apparently that goes along with all of it too. So go figure.
I have negative blood and hazel eyes.
Well, mine are hazily green, hazel. They said my driver's license says hazel.
Mine says brown, but my eye color changes regularly.
I have like mine are green, and then there's like brownish and then blue around the very edges, but around my pupil it's like this brown. And then
when I get sick, my eyes turn a very, very pretty green. You can always tell.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Mark, you have pretty eyes.
Oh,
and 2 hours to live.
God.
Right?
Yeah, the sicker I get, the greener they get. I mean, it's true.
Darn it. That's fun. But yeah, I don't know what got me down that rabbit hole, but yeah. Weird.
It's so interesting, though.
I mean, what we do.
It did sound. Ian points at
lizard.
But so it does sound like from what you described, though, that does sound like an educational thing. It's like, because we've certainly heard stories from other people that had to go to a special class or a special school or something like that, and now they're suddenly whisked away for special labs or whatever. You're going to the Cosmosphere. That's not exactly the same thing. So
no, yeah, it's a little bit different. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows?
I never got
what
to
they
go
were
on
doing for us.
trips.
Really?
But
The only two, that's the two I remember. We went to the news station and we went to the Cosmosphere.
Yeah.
Other than that, we were stuck in rooms.
I don't
Cruise
recall ever getting
station,
to go
that's
on a
weird.
trip.
Yeah.
But I do know, like, I know it stopped at when I was in 3rd grade, and fourth, fifth, and 6th grade, no one ever got called out ever again for special classes.
That's wild.
So that's because I thought about that. I was like, was it just me? Were they testing me, and then suddenly I wasn't what they wanted, or I wasn't performing like I should, so they let me loose? But no one else ever got called out either. So I kind of wondered if that's when they stopped it. Was in the late 80s when they finally put the kibosh on it and moved on to something else, or I don't know.
I know. I don't know. Maybe those couple of trips that we went on, maybe it was a cover too. Who knows? You know,
I don't know.
to cover for
Who was,
everything else.
Who did you go to? Was it somebody? Was it a teacher in the school that you already
No.
knew, or was it somebody
No.
completely different?
Yeah, somebody completely different. It was a lady. She had black hair, and it almost. Do you remember the Brady Bunch? The mom Carol, how she had that flip. So this lady had that hair, except it was black, and she was really thin and tall. And that's I don't even know.
Mine
her
was
name.
a
I can't remember her
dude.
name.
My guy was really tall and lanky, and he had short brown hair. Well, it wasn't short. It was kind of shaggy. Kind of came like this. And he used to irritate me. He had these brown boots that he always wore. Not like cowboy boots, but like more almost like a workman type boot, but not quite. And they were such a weird color of tan. It always mismatched with his pants. Like the tone was always off with his pants.
Just off enough to bother you.
Yeah, and that's what it messed with me a lot, because I was the kid that looked down. Like, I wouldn't make eye contact with teachers and stuff a lot. I was always like glancing down and like looking at what was on the floor. I knew like where every little shred of paper was on my classroom floor. And he would walk by, and you know, that's the first thing I would see was those horrible tan boots clashing with his like blue leisure pants or whatever he was wearing. And it just irritated me. He irritated me.
Raise your hand if
Men in
you've
Brown.
ever owned a leisure.
Yeah. He was a weird cat, from what I can remember.
Like the Men in Black, yeah.
I don't remember this lady's name, and I mean, she was there for years. I have no clue.
Yeah, I
can't
couldn't
remember
tell
what
you,
her
but
name
it's-
was.
Was she really?
Was
Pam?
she really there? That's a good question. Pretty sure she was, because she had some funky hair. I remember the funky hair. And somebody else was talking about. Remember did you have to do the pink pills that they said was to check for fluoride? Yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, to check
Look for black.
if you had been
If
brushing.
you
or-
flossed good
I remember
enough.
that.
Yeah.
I remember
I
that.
brushed. Yeah.
And those didn't work. They sent home some of them with us to try at home too. And I scrubbed the crap out of my teeth and then tried it. Looked exactly the same. I was like, this is a lie.
That's right. This is just
a
to make me
farce.
brush my teeth. Yeah.
That's right.
It's psychological warfare.
It is. It was a
Ugh.
lie. Lies and propaganda.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
So remember when I won, it's probably never come up in this show before, but I want to say I was in 5th or 6th grade, but they let me go ahead and do the
Where did that come from?
There's
Why do
no
you have an
text in
empty
it.
message?
I don't
That
know.
is weird.
It just popped up.
They
I
let
didn't know
me.
you could send an empty message like that. Apparently, I can.
That's wild.
I don't know.
But they let me enter the science fair, and I was fascinated with Egyptian things at that time, the pyramids and everything. And so I did a science fair project on pyramid power, and I ended up taking 4th place overall. So when we went to the whole Newkirk thing, and I had my 4th place ribbon, that's where it came from. Was from being in the GATE program.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I bet if you'd brought that up to them, they would have been like, "Oh,
Right. Well, I didn't think about it. I never really thought about it, and then it started popping up just within the last month or two, all
It
over
did,
the
hasn't it?
place.
It's kind of weird how it just started kind of blowing
Yeah.
up all of a sudden.
Because
I
they were
hadn't
like,
thought about those in years. Like in my
Me
head,
neither.
they were just like special classes I got pulled
Yeah.
out for.
Exactly.
And
And because they were like, well, you know, one of it was actually a TikTok I was watching, and they were like, if you remember the headphones, describe them. Well, I remember them. They were brown, you know, and they were boxy and they were big.
those
and
big old, yeah.
Yeah, and they did the one tone in one ear, and it was
Mhm.
the man talking, you know, this is, I can't remember what he said, but he had a
Yeah.
very blah, blah, blah voice. And yeah,
And it had
I
that
wasn't
weird.
the only one.
Did yours have that weird little beep beep click click
Yeah,
underneath of it? Him
Yep.
talking. And
yes,
it was in like
and it would do
different
the
patterns.
beep, boop. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
While
Yep.
he was talking? That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it was just underneath of it. And when
subliminal messaging.
I did
Maybe.
it, like they were like, you know, what are you hearing? You know, whatever. And I couldn't half the time pay attention to what the dude was saying because I was too busy hearing the clicks and the dings.
Yeah. They were,
It was
yeah.
weird. And my headphones smelled bad. Did yours smell bad?
I don't remember them smelling bad.
They did. They
Wow.
smelled weird.
It was probably
and
the same ones that
plasticky.
we all used for all those years.
Yeah.
So
So
maybe
12
by the
other
time
kids
they got to
ear funk
you.
on there.
Yeah.
Ew.
Little
I have a lot of ear infections.
Sylvain, you did the gate
you're
program.
in
Yeah,
grade school.
apparently. Yeah, I didn't
Ew.
know Jess did. We both did at different times. Because you're what, 11 years younger than me, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we went to the same school.
Y'all's a
Just at
bunch of
different
youngsters.
times.
Just at different times.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Y'all's a bunch of youngsters.
Ken was wondering what the heck we were talking about.
Hi, Ken.
We don't know either.
So lost regarding. Oh, we're talking about the gate program, gifted and talented
Yeah.
program in school.
We were talking about the Majestic 12, but it has segued over.
It did.
Yes.
Our train tracks go off road often.
Yes.
I think my train tracks have all-terrain tires.
No.
I don't know. Maybe this means that like Pam and I are like former field psychics for the U.S. government or something.
Well, so, and what's his name? Damn it, man. On
Passaggio?
TikTok, his name's Damn it, man. I can't remember
Oh.
what his real name is, but that's what his handle is on there. And he was like, you know, so many of these people that were in this program, they've gone on to do paranormal things and blah blah blah. And I jumped in there and I was like, yeah, now I'm a paranormal podcaster, so woohoo. So you're right.
That's weird. It's like, is it testing people to see what they're capable of, or does it introduce something that certain people are receptive to as far as the clicks and the tones and all that? That's just
don't
super
know.
weird. And that's something that we'll probably
know.
never know.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we
I don't
do, it'll probably be redacted heavily in 20 years. You know?
Yeah.
I remember the test that they gave me for me to start it. I was in
Do you?
kindergarten.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was in kindergarten and we did like they brought us in little groups back into our actual classroom. Like the rest of the kids got to stay out at recess and we took them in shifts. And I remember thinking it was really weird. There wasn't a whole lot of us that did it because we were in kindergarten and you had to be able to read at a certain level and to write already. And I was
Oh.
one of the few kids that could read at a really high level. I was already like at a 4th grade level at that point,
Mhm.
but it was just because I loved to read so much when I was little. I just picked it up fast.
Yeah.
And the test, I remember thinking it was so weird because I was expecting it to be, you know, like really simple math, which at that time was hard for me, you know, math
Yeah.
and English and stuff. And I remember
Math's still hard for me.
yeah, none of it was like little puzzles and stuff like that. And I couldn't understand what it had to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got through it as fast as I could so I could get out and go back to recess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I just remember thinking it was so strange. But I remember there was definitely like a number sequence thing on it, which I'm sure
Mhm.
was probably extraordinarily simple because I was a
Has to be
kindergartner.
worth it for you. Yeah.
And one of them, I remember this. Do you remember? Did you have to do the lines? The line? It would tell you to draw a line for a second, or it was, I don't remember, it was like a timed thing, and you drew the line and you had to know when to stop the line.
I remember. Okay, so what I remember, if you're talking about a line, we drew a line, and then we had to make specific marks
Maybe that
at
was
specific spots, and then they would go back and explain to us what this meant within our
Uh-huh.
situation, whatever
See,
we were doing.
I knew
Yeah.
there was a reason why I call you guys the smart friends, because I did the opposite. They had me in remedial spelling until we decided they decided I wasn't qualified because I was smarter than the teacher.
Oh.
Mark,
Well,
draw
I
a
was
line
reading-
on the paper. Don't
I
eat
was-
the pen.
I was reading at a 12th grade level in grade school, but I couldn't spell for crap.
Well, see, like, it's like Pam said, like, I wasn't like the smartest kid in class or anything. I had extraordinarily
either.
high reading and spelling level, but
Mhm, I did too.
math, science, social studies, everything else across the board was fairly, I mean, I wasn't horrible, but I wasn't,
Oh, I
was
sucked
like
at math. I still suck at
Yeah,
math.
I'm horrible at math, but I was like mid-level, so I wasn't even close to being, the
Yeah, I
smartest at
wasn't.
anything.
I wasn't. I don't think I was either. I could read really young, really well.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a decent speller, stuff like that. But so far as to shine overall, no, not really.
Ian brings up a good point. Could be worth a FOIA.
FOIA.
Yeah,
Mhm.
do a freedom of information thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Of course, anything you would get back would probably, all the paper would just have bogus written across
Yeah.
the
Bogus,
whole
yeah.
page.
And they'll be
See, I brought
redacted.
it back full circle for the end of the show. Yeah, it's,
Ken said trying to find people who can understand the sounds is in an alien language. Maybe that's what the clicks were.
It was it was like a warbly ring, and then a clear ring, and then you would hear like these little click 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 clicks behind
Yeah.
it. While
I know what
this
you're talking
guy-
about.
Yeah, and this guy would be like, he spoke it in a really weird way too. But the one you heard was that he would say a couple things at kind of a regular pace, and then he would slow his words down.
And he was
And
very
then-
monotone, very
Yeah.
no
But
inflection
that's why I
in
said,
his
like,
voice.
My brain would shut him off. And
You
I would
would.
sit there and
Focus
like,
on the clicks.
yeah, I would sit there with like my fingers on the seat or like on the rails of the seat and click out what I was hearing while I was
Oh, yeah.
listening to it. Because he was just so and
I don't remember
like, I
exactly what he said or anything like
I
that.
can't
I just
remember.
remember there were tones, and I remember the
Yeah.
room was really dark,
Obey, consume,
really dark.
procreate.
really dark.
Yeah.
My tinfoil hat thing is the headset and why it smelled funny and was just weird. That was interacting with the implant that you had.
Maybe
oh, the implant.
That's
Things are
what
getting
the-
dark in here.
I watched a Whitley Strieber thing this past week, and he was talking about his implant and it's in his ear.
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking about like a headset that goes over like both ears.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
they do have an implant.
Oh.
Let's try and
They're kicking our
Oh, no.
receiver on.
yeah, seeing if they can
That's
hack
funny.
hack it.
See if we both
God,
like
I hope not. Yeah, I
start
hope
acting
not.
weird.
It's not. Oh, we have gone so far off in the weeds.
We have.
We have.
With MJ12, not really. That's not
that's
something
true.
like that. That sounds kind of MJ12y. So that kind of a project.
Oh,
That
Maybe
project
he's right.
actually does sound a little bit like something that they would do. Yeah.
You got like MK ultralight or something. It's something
Did
weird.
any of your friends or classmates suddenly disappear or secretly move away swiftly?
No. I mean, in mine,
There you
it
go.
was literally,
After the
Like-
no. We're in a very small school system, though, Ken.
yeah, like there was only like, I would guess maybe 3 or 4 other kids my age
And that's
that would meet together.
Across all grade, yeah. And when I was in it, there was like, I want to say there was maybe 5 of us, and that was junior, senior high together, because everybody in that same building, we were in the class together, and our junior and senior highs together. And there wasn't any more
Well,
than
I mean,
that
like,
when we were in grade school.
I think there was like 3 or 4 of us, and we literally met in a closet.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We met, okay.
Not like a broom closet. We wouldn't have like cleaners behind us and stuff, but it was a converted closet that they had carpeted. And they had put a couple of tables inside of it for us to sit at.
Probably
That's
where
where
the
we were.
eras were.
Yeah, it was.
So, okay. Now they have added on to that grade school since
Mhm.
you were, if you were in there, Mark. So when we were little, it was kind of a different building almost. So where the first grade classrooms are now was where kindergarten was. Okay.
I see.
And those were just outer doors there instead of going into that other hallway. And so if you were at that end and you had, let's see, it'd be like Mrs. Circulum's class.
Mhm.
And then across the way was Mrs. White's, and I can't remember who the other teacher was. Mrs. Miller. No, I don't remember who it was. Anyway, you would go around those 2 classrooms on this side, and then there was a closet.
Yes.
And that's where we met. Is that where you met? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Same room.
Up until my last year doing it, my 3rd grade year, they moved it to that closet. That's the hallway that goes down to Mr. Redfern's old music room and the gymnasium. There's that little closet
that wasn't
right
there
by
then.
the.
Yeah. Because when I was in 6th grade is when the school burned. So we lost the gym.
Well, no, it was in the hallway
original gym.
inside the building, not the gym. It wasn't in the gym or anything. It was when you turned into the hallway that took you out, that second hallway that went out towards the 6th grade playgrounds.
Uh-huh.
It was in that little storage closet right by the water fountain.
Yeah. I know where you're talking
That
about.
was where we went my 3rd grade year, and then it was done. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I've looked in there since. It's no longer carpeted and everything. Now it's just another utility closet again. So. I don't know.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I had to help out over there several times.
So where that is now, it's where the 5th grade teachers are, and when I was there, that's where the 6th grade teachers were, because that 6th grade hallway wasn't there. They built that on too.
Yep.
That was all
they built all of that the year after I got out of 6th grade.
Did they?
I was the last class that went through the school looking like that, and then when I left, they put the additions on both sides.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was in 3rd grade, we had trailers out in the yard for the 3rd grade classrooms. And Mr. Redfern's music trailer was out there. We had music class out there.
We've since lost Mark and Enzo. We're just talking about old school times now.
I was thinking about my own grade school. Every once in a while, you just kind of get bored and you start looking around like on Google Street Maps for places like you used to live and things like that. It was a few years ago. I was like, because my grade school was like within walking distance of my house. It was a long walk, but 1st through 6th grade there. It's like, I wonder if that's still there. It is not. And it's not like they built something on top of it or reconditioned the building. It is an empty lot.
Oh, they took it out, huh?
Completely destroyed and removed the building.
Because after you left, there was no point in having it.
That's right. It was all an act just for me.
It's like the Truman Show.
Ken said testing to see who might fit into the Superhero Academy curriculum. Maybe so. Apparently I didn't. Because I don't have a cape. Never got the cape.
I've been accused of being a cape wearer.
Not sure where you're going with that, Mark.
I got nothing.
I had a secretary of the place I used to work always called me her cape wearing friend.
Okay.
Because I always swooped in to save the day.
Gotcha.
Aww.
Okay. Yeah. That's nice. I like that. And he does. He tries to reach across the cars.
Yeah, my psychic powers just are still so underdeveloped. I couldn't catch it. I wanted to, but the car was in the way.
Ken said, "Was it ever really there, Enzo?" Meaning your school.
Maybe it's just a memory in his alien implanted.
That's right. It's all All false memories.
Did you see
That's right.
Kentucky and Tennessee? Parts of it are underwater.
Yeah,
got-
because they
I
had
did
that
not-
Major floods.
that
Yeah.
levee broke.
Yeah, it's not good.
Oh man, washed everybody's Chevys away.
Oh Lord,
It's not. The
No.
levee is not dry.
American Pie.
that was terrible, sir.
Oof.
We all got it though, didn't we?
We did. Oh no.
Chris said, "Mark, don't talk about things you don't know." Bear.
I'm not going to even talk about it.
Uh-oh.
I made the mistake of saying, well, I'm smarter than the average bear, Yogi quote.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was shown something on the internet. I will not refer to that anymore, ever.
Oh no.
So let us not talk about that any longer. We are off in the weeds. I think
Yes.
we've
Severely.
although the gate program does sound like something that either Majestic 12 or MK Ultra could have been involved with, except that there was no LSD or any psychotropic drugs, but that you know of.
That we know of.
So,
Well, NK Ultra was more than just dosing up kids and stuff like that they're most famous for. They were looking for the whole mind control package. So there were various weird light, strobing light experiments and weird sounds and all that other stuff too.
So yeah, I mean there was a lot to it. Maybe they were secretly turning you into a Manchurian candidate.
Oh
They're going to activate you someday, and you're just going to go on a murder spree.
no.
That's crazy. That would never happen.
Sure.
We're children of the corn.
Malachi.
I want to be the little short one. I don't want to be the tall weird dude. He was strange. The one with all the freckles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
I'm
can't
white
we
enough
cannot
right
be the children of the corn. My allergies are too bad to be out there.
That's same.
Same.
Same for sure.
Nobody's gonna be scared of like drippy, sneezy Jess.
The slee stack.
Oh no!
Yeah,
After
I would be like, "You're gonna die!" Oh, shoot.
after COVID, maybe they will be.
Maybe.
You through the MK antihistamine class and see how that goes.
Be like, "You're gonna die!"
Yeah.
Here, let
Maybe
me
that's
wipe
your
my
superpower.
snot all over you.
Yeah, that'll be it. I'll be the mucus queen.
You're the mucus
MK
queen.
patient zero. Jesus.
So
Mucusasia.
small closets, strange sounds, weird lights. Nah, not a Majestic project. No, not at all.
No.
Not a bit. It is strange though.
I don't know.
And
Maybe we should do
I kind
some
of want to look
research
more
on it.
into it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
on
wanna-
gate,
I don't know if you wanted
gate
to-
would be an interesting thing
Freaky.
to, we look
Yeah.
into that a little bit.
I don't know if I want to.
Now you're scared.
Yeah.
We scared you. What was I subjected to as a child?
It's a
Yeah.
little concerning.
I was only in it for a few years, so maybe I'm
No,
not
I
too
wasn't. I
affected.
was in it the majority of my.
Yeah.
Half
Nailed
half
it.
the stuff you guys do as
That explains
adults
so much.
scares regular people. They're gonna get scared yourself about something that happened when you were a kid.
Ah, that's a good point. Very good.
Well, yeah, because it happened at a time when we weren't capable of knowing better, or you
Yeah.
know, we know better now.
Maybe
Or
maybe it was to prepare you for your future.
Maybe.
It prepared me for bad off-kilter podcasts where we can't stay on topic.
Yes.
That's it. Yay!
I mean, if a bad podcast is what you're looking for, you have come to the right place.
Not
covered.
when I say bad, I mean as in good. You know, like we're bad.
We bad, man. We
We're
bad.
bad.
Okay.
We're a
People-
top-rate podcast.
Well, I mean, for a while there, we were number 47 in Greece.
Well, Jesus.
Greece.
That's right.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we totally
awesome.
were. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they only had 47 of them, but
Oh,
we
okay.
were on the list.
Yeah.
You wait till poor Enzo takes a great big drink.
This is a true thing. In what was it? Arts and I don't remember what it was. It was some category. We were 47 of 47, but we were on the list.
That's funny. Goodness.
So thank you, those of you who are listening to us in Greece.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
sorry for everything.
We're just sorry.
Especially sorry for all the poop jokes, unless you find that funny.
Very popular in Greece, apparently. It's
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we had like
Funny.
3 people who were listening to us. I don't.
That's funny.
Yeah. So.
Goodness.
All right. With that said, I think we are pretty much done. If we haven't run everybody off yet, there's still a bunch of people watching, but I think we're going to finish up tonight. Those of you who are listening and do have some show ideas that they would like to see us cover, What If Tomorrow podcast group on Facebook. Drop us a message. Leave us a post with your suggestions. Drop us an email at whatiftomorrowpc@gmail.com. And next week, we're going to have a brand new episode. Unless there's something else that comes up, like a flood or,
You'll still be snowed in by this time next week.
Yes.
maybe snowed in this time next week. I'll have a lot of research time done. What If Tomorrow, next Monday. And on Wednesday, you can watch our favorite 2 co-hosts,
Yay.
Border Town Strange. They are
Not
awesome.
this Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. Yeah, next week.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Oh, sorry. I missed
Yeah.
that part.
A week,
I'll shut
a
up.
week from this
Actually-
coming one.
A week
Yeah.
from Wednesday.
We're going to have a guest on.
We are.
Sweet.
Ooh,
Jason Roberts.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We are going to talk about the book The Agony Remains. So if any of you all that are still listening want to follow along, pick up the book. You can get it for
Yes.
I think it's like $19 on Amazon or something.
Very good
Or-
book.
Yes.
It is.
And I highly recommend watching Border Town Strange, where you can actually watch a well-produced, interesting podcast.
Whatever.
What,
Even
come on
Enzo.
after there, or-
what do you want, Mark? Are you kissing our ass for a reason, or?
I mean,
You're welcome to come hang out with us. Both of you
I
are.
really appreciate you coming on my show and upping the entertainment value. Oh,
I'm not sure that's a compliment.
is it? I think it was. I don't know.
It was
I'm not
meant
very
to sort
smart, guys.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah,
All
yeah, we're going to be talking about The Agony That Remains. It's based on ley lines that run through Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and the guy that figured out, followed a ley line to find cases as opposed to following cases to find ley lines. He did it the other way.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
Yeah, we can
basically-
do that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they go into an area. A family owns this huge property with several outbuildings on it, and it's basically Oklahoma's version of Skinwalker Ranch.
It is. Yeah. Very
It
much
is
so.
an insane place of high strangeness. So we're gonna get to go over it with a gentleman who was actually there with the
Yes.
author.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be great fun. So
That
I'm probably
sounds like
gonna
fun.
scare him off with all my questions.
Probably. I know. We'll both be like, okay, so.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're gonna be like Chris Farley. Do you remember that time when you were in Tahlequah? That was really
Tell
cool.
us everything. He's well warned. He knows. He knows.
Okay.
He knows.
He's met
So,
us.
He's met us. And we grilled him when we met him in person too. So and he still likes us, so yay. That's good. We didn't scare him completely away.
Right. All right. Well, I'd like to wish everybody a good night, and we will see you next week.
Awesome. Night, everybody.
Good night.